entropy. And this is something that we're going to be looking at today very specifically, because when you think about this law of entropy, you might think, what has this got to do with anything? But the world is governed by this law where everything moves from a state of calm, complete calm and order, to a state of disorder. And this usually happens in a closed system. And the closed system that we experience is the world itself. And when we think about what is happening to us, all the things that we experience. So on a physical level, we experience, the different weather patterns, and we rely on an external energy source to kind of give us nourishment, to give us an experience of refreshment, etc. And so the sun is like that energy that, gives the earth, that renewal, that energy, and even the people, on the planet. And so how does this law of entropy actually, kind of factor into our spiritual experience? And as human beings, we all want order. And that's where we gravitate towards perhaps control. And this is something that we discover is a control that is not a natural element of ourselves, because when we are in a state of complete harmony and peace, then automatically we express and act in the right way that creates harmony around us, but we don't hold control. So we're not attached to outcomes. We're not hankering after something or some particular desire. And this is kind of the beauty of the spiritual experience, because we're becoming complete, in ourselves. And that in itself will also then interact with everything around us. And a lovely thing that, is shared by Mike as well is this idea that, when we are understanding our spiritual experience, then there is the freedom of expressing that, but in a formless way. So for example, normally energy, so when we take the sun's energy, it's nurturing the plants, it's kind of giving energy and heat to every creature, and us included. And so in that way, energy takes on the form of something physical. Whereas on a spiritual level, when we harness this energy, what happens is we don't actually take on a form, but we express all the things that we are through a form. So for example, we understand we are the spirit, we are that soul, and we take on a physical body, and then we're able to express through our physical bodies. So a little bit different to how the physicality works. So in the law of entropy, what normally happens is if you had a room, and in the room you had a table and chair, and that caught on fire. Now, to be able to stop that or bring that to a sense of order, one would need to kind of interact from outside the room to be able to stop that fire and bring back chaos, bring back harmony and order again. And so what we're discovering here is that what the law of entropy shows us is that, the world itself is going through, some level of chaos, because people have lost their thinking of themselves in the correct way, or the true way, that authentic sense. And so because of that, everything we do, how we act, how we harness that physical energy from the sun, what we've created, devices are faster, we're using energy on a faster level, we're consuming a lot more. So all of those things are having an impact on even how the world is continuing, because at moments, we see complete chaos. And sometimes you wonder, but how did all of this happen? Where did it start? But because we're in a closed system, the world itself, so we're not kind of, how can you say, getting divided up as such. The planet is just one. And so what happens is we are kind of reliant on whatever is on the planet. But we do know that if we want some kind of order, we need to take energy from outside of the planet. So just like the sun gives us the example of nurture, care, nourishment, so too on a spiritual level, for our own well-being, our own renewal, we need to connect to the source, who is obviously not part of this physical dimension, but is in a dimension that is away from planet Earth. And so this is where we find that we can use meditation to really allow ourselves to then connect to that source. And perhaps before I go to that aspect, I wanted to just give you an example that Mike shares, in his book. So he talks about, for example, if people love football, and they always support certain teams. So you have a father who has his two children, and they're walking down the street, and they support, say, Team A, and Team A, they're very passionate about their soccer team. And he's talking to his son, about, just different things. And then he sees, another person who supports the team that, he doesn't support, and he's probably his ally. I mean, he's, kind of somebody who he doesn't agree with. And so when he sees that person, immediately his identification changes from being that father who is calm and talking to his children, and he starts to identify with being the team member A. And when he sees the other team supporter, he sort of gets a little uptight and almost like protecting the team's reputation or what the team represents. And so in that way, we can see how when I identify with anything external, it suddenly influences how I perceive things. From a state of calm, I suddenly start to get agitated because I'm attached to that opinion of that team. And because it's a winning team, I sort of ascribe myself to that. So you can see how that attachment shifts our awareness of things. Another example, two women are walking past a shopping mall, and they're looking at a shop, and they love handbags. So one, loves Gucci handbags. Another one loves another name brand. And so when they passing, the shop, and the one who doesn't love the Gucci handbag, the other one makes a comment to say, oh, this is really nice and whatever. And the one who's identifying with that brand is sort of saying, no, but that's not, a good brand. You should buy this Gucci brand because it's really, it shows you that you have arrived. And so what happens is between the two friends, there could be anger that erupts because the one is not supporting what the other one says. But all it is one particular person's attachment to a particular brand. And that has created that agitation. And so this is where we see how emotions create that chaos, because our emotions are based on something of the external. and we attach ourselves to that, we identify with it. And when we do that, that's when, our emotions seem to rise up and create heat in the form of anger or disagreement. And we all can have our opinions. That's not to say that we should all be the same. But in a sense, just as we have our own opinions, others have their own opinions. So we can beg to differ. And it doesn't matter if, my opinion is different to another's, but if I align myself, to the things that are true, that's more important. So instead of getting upset by somebody's, choice, I can say, okay, well, that's, really up to you. And I'm fine with that. I have my choice. And so in a way, we allow for diversity, but not getting attachment to create, the emotions that then can create disharmony and more chaos. And so how important is it for us? Sometimes you might say, okay, well, I don't identify with, negative things, but I do sort of maybe go to the movies and watch a feel-good movie. But what happens in that instance is that, for that moment, we fulfill that good feeling. And then when that's over, we're always looking for the next good movie, or we're looking for something to pep us up. So again, we're using external things to create our inner experience, triggers that kind of help us feel good. And I think where meditation helps us to realign ourselves is to know that the source of that peace and joy and power actually lies inside of us. And we need to activate that energy of awareness to be able to bring out those qualities. So rather letting the influence come from inside out rather than from outside in. And normally, on a physical level, when we look at, the climate situation and global warming, we do become very aware that something needs to happen. But to realize that there is a connection between our own emotional behavior towards that physical, situation of global warming, we don't see the connection. And so on a spiritual level, what we realize is as individuals, our own, erratic emotions and consistent, ups and downs are having an impact on how we are using things, how we are, using technology, how we are kind of really addicted to many of those things. And because we want something faster, we want something quicker, we want maybe a holiday, so we will, go overseas, and then obviously more fuel is being used because of, aeroplanes. So it's not to say we don't do those things, but we don't use that as a mechanism to get ourselves feeling more peaceful or more calm. We can actually go inside of ourselves and then generate those vibrations. And the idea of also this session is to really know that as individuals, we can make a difference just on a daily basis in the things that we do as we respond to situations, and not just letting ourselves be in the reactive mode. Because so often, when we start our day, something happens, we read a message, somebody calls us, and that then starts to play in our mind, creates the flavor for the day. And so if we can just take a pause moment, just a little moment to reflect and say, okay, what is it that I want to emanate today? What vibration do I want to allow to emerge from me and act from that space? And I know it always seems easier said than done, but this is why as individuals, it's so important to create those little moments in our day. So it could be a moment, a minute, in each hour, and just to take a breathing space, what am I feeling like now? Am I feeling emotional? Am I feeling under some kind of influence? And if I can check myself, in those little moments in the day, I'll actually find that I'm able to hold my kind of vibration on a more even and a less chaotic level. I'll be able to act from a space of clear-mindedness, a space of a clean attitude, a clean awareness, and act objectively. So, sometimes a family member may say something to you, or a friend may say something to you. And just when you listen to what they say, you already create, something in your mind that is in favor of maybe what they are saying. But if you just take a step back and listen objectively and see what they are saying, is it something just based on their own, sort of emotional experience? Or is it something really objective? And then if you respond from that space of objectivity, and even though at that point they may not like what you're saying, but later on they will appreciate that you acted and shared with them from a space of honesty and objectivity. And I think this is where our power lies, that in each day, we can act from that space of objectivity and not then allow the chaotic emotions to take control. And in doing so, we then have an impact on the environment as well. The impact of the atmosphere will be more calm. We will act from a space of truth, authenticity, and our very physical actions will also ensure that the environment doesn't get, abused, and we don't hanker after the next gadget or the next, gratification or desire, because that is what is kind of destroying the world. We don't realize it, but it's in those little things that people do that's actually having such an overall effect and impact on the environment and the atmosphere, on the climate. And so, this is our opportunity to play our part, in a very powerful way, to be very conscious, and not because, we want to feel self-righteous, but in a sense, like a plant knows what it needs to do to nurture itself. It needs to draw that sunlight, it needs to draw water from the earth, and it needs to grow and become strong. So as individuals, we also know what gives us strength, what takes away our power, what makes us feel less of ourselves. And if we can know that, we have access to the source that is, living in the environment of the world of light, and we can make a connection with that source and draw that power into ourselves so that we can reaffirm and re-energize our own innate powers, then, what we're going to be adding into the world will be something of great value. So just think about it each day, as you start your day. What do you want to do, in your day? And when you make and take that conscious decision, I think you will feel even better, because you're not adding to the burden of the world, but you're actually adding to being a solution in the world. So I'm going to invite you to perhaps share anything that you've been experiencing currently, and maybe how you've been helping yourself, to shift from a state of chaos to a state of calm. So I welcome you to either ask a question or share. Please feel free.
Thank you, sister.
Good morning.
So, Good morning. Yeah, no, Rise and Shine really helps me. But, these days, for example, you get things like extended load shedding. But so when I get frustrated, since Rise and Shine, I'm not saying it happens all the time, but I just remember moments where I kind of consciously, think more deeper and check myself, as you say, I mean, I was in a pleasant mood a moment ago. Now I'm feeling really, uh, you know, unsettled. And then I try and look at it, let's say, objectively. The feeling doesn't completely go away of being unsettled and happy a bit, but it helps. And I think maybe through practice, I can get better. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think what you're sharing is very real, because I mean, when people do experience that difficulty, whether it's load shedding or maybe being stuck in traffic, that agitation can overwhelm you, and just by reminding yourself, you can shift that energy. And I think this is also a lovely thing where you can also realize that even though you're going through that difficulty, it's not taking away who you really are. I think that's also for me what's very important, because when those situations are happening, I think sometimes when we feel agitated, sometimes we lose faith in ourselves, faith in our own capacity and capability. And I think this is where perhaps I've also seen where meditation has helped, because I can hold that good feeling about myself despite the external situation. So, for example, I know when load shedding happens, you can't maybe do all the normal things that you are accustomed to. But if you have a family, think, okay, well, how can we engage, just as human beings, and share that little moments. So if we light a candle, we can enjoy the light of that beauty, and feel like it's a special moment. And so really, I think we can create opportunities even in difficult moments. I see in the chat, Debbie has shared, it's so important to connect more with nature as it is giving. Niri is sharing, good morning, Om Shanti. I feel you so right in all you mentioned. Thank you. Debbie is also mentioning something. I found that simply by looking at how beautiful nature actually is, by looking at a little bird that catches my eye, or even a cloud, these things can shift my awareness from a negative situation very quickly. It creates such a different feeling. So thank you everyone for sharing, your thoughts and your own experiences, because I think when we realize that we are kind of in the same boat, and even though the boat may be going through a turmoil or a difficult patch, but if we are supportive in our energies, then that supportive energy also reaches each one of us. And so, like the brother shared earlier, just shifting your awareness and feeling different. And even though the feeling doesn't completely disappear, but I think it's seeds in the right direction, and sowing those seeds that will then bear fruit, that over a period of time, we will see that full benefit of not then succumbing to that energy of maybe despair or some negativity, but just learning that I am full in myself, and I can offer that energy in the form of my companionship, to my fellow family members. But I wanted to also invite you on another level, because we spoke today about this energy source from the outside that can intervene in the situation that we are currently experiencing, or sometimes the disillusionment we experience. So to invite you to connect with this energy, the source, and the source of peace, the source of power, and really taking, the opportunity to converse to that being in your mind, through the day. So even though you're going through a little bit of a patch and if you can refer to that source as God or a friend or a guide, whoever you feel akin to or comfortable with, really just to take that opportunity. And even in your day, no matter what's happening, even in the good moments, even in the difficult moments, just, spare thought and connect with that source and really feel like that source is very interested in your situation and your well-being. And I liken this source to a coach, who's really one's personal coach, who's really interested in our development, our betterment, our ability to face and be strong in situations. So today, experiment and connect with that coach. And really, whatever it is you're feeling, feel you can really open your heart and share that. I'm just going to share another thing that has been shared in the chat. Shanti, my husband and I visited some relatives on Easter Monday out of town. It was very refreshing to be in the village where there is a lot of greenery and no pollution. My husband said that we should go there more often. Yes, this is the wonder of nature, and nature always reminds us of what is true and natural in ourselves. So thank you, everyone, and have a beautiful day. I'm going to end with a little meditation, and we can just take that feeling into our day and really use those little moments in our day to really create beautiful experiences for ourselves. So take a moment, just allow your body to become very comfortable. And in that state of comfort, just feel how anything that could be a hindrance to you, you allow it to be separate from you. So a feeling of letting go. And as you let go, allow a feeling of peace, a tranquility to come into you. And as you allow that tranquility to move into you, it feels like every cell of your body is becoming infused with that energy of tranquility, of calm, of focus. And allow this feeling to move into your entire physical system, this whole physical body, from the top of your head to the tip of your toes. Every cell is infused with this powerful peace, a powerful joy. And it's as if your body starts to vibrate on a different level, a different awareness. I am peace, I am joy, I am light. And so as you go into your day, you are filled with a different enthusiasm, just like these beautiful flowers, shining their beauty, their cheer, their joy. So too, you are like that beautiful flower, sharing your fragrance, sharing your beauty, sharing your joy. So as you have awoken and started on a beautiful note, Let this energy just generously spill over into everything that you do, everything that you think, and in every action that you perform. And know that you are not alone, but that source of peace and joy, your personal coach, is by your side, helping you to see and experience the beauty in you and around you. So very gently bring your thoughts back to the room and feel energized, replenished, refreshed, ready to press that restart button and start your day. So Om Shanti, and have a very beautiful day ahead of you. I'm sure Danielle will also share the upcoming events. And so take care, everyone. Be safe and keep your calm and joy very close to your heart.